Hey, and welcome to Eat Out at Home, the podcast. This is the place for those with exquisite taste who are on a mission to cook better, eat healthier, dine together, and add some gourmet to their everyday. I'm your host, Chef Evelyn, and on this podcast, we talk about all things food, cooking, baking, and entertaining as I share stories from my well-seasoned career as a professional chef for over 20 years. So, if that sounds tempting to your taste buds, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Eat Out at Home, the podcast. And today, I want to just talk a little bit more about my plan for getting back on track. So in the last episode, I kind of went through the story in detail of why I stopped cooking for 7 years. And towards the end, I shared a little bit about, my plans for getting back on track. And I want to kind of go a little bit more in depth about what I'm currently doing. So basically, the process for me kind of falling back in love with food and, wanting to cook and all of that again really started with the idea of taking all the limits off, taking all the rules off, and not following any type of dietary plan except for my own personal preferences. And what I mean by that, I mean like not preferences like, oh, I feel like I should do this, so that's what I'm going to do, and calling that a preference. It's more so like, this is how I like to eat. And if I'm going to get back on this journey, it has to start with joy. It has to start with enjoyment. It has to start being playful and passionate. And so I really set out at the beginning to be like, what do I just want to make, right? What is something that I really want to make? And ironically, it started with cookies. Well, I would say it started, with some smaller things, but it started with these 2 recipes for cookies that I saw pastry chef Claire Saffitz make on YouTube. And I didn't end up making these until months and months later, but it started with I really want to make these cookies. So there was a brown butter chocolate chip cookie, and then there was also a caramel pecan brittle oat cookie. And both of these recipes are a little labor intensive, right? The chocolate chip cookie has multiple types of chocolate in it, brown butter, all of this. The oat cookie, like you have to make a pecan nut brittle first, and then you've got to make oat flour. Like it's a whole thing. And I was like, I want to make those. Like I was just like salivating at the mouth. I wanted the labor involved process. Because let me just clarify something here. I am not the person to follow if you're looking for like 15-minute meals or like 30-minute meals. That is not me. I'm not necessarily looking for the quickest way to get dinner on the table. I am a woman who is child-free. And so it's just me, and I am a professional chef who enjoys the process of cooking just as much, if not more, as the end result, right? So I like to be clear about what it is over here. I like interesting ingredients. I like ingredients that I have to order online that you can't find in a regular grocery store. So, when it comes, I'm not a food blogger either, right? So I don't necessarily test and pump out recipes. I just like to talk about food, share food for inspiration, all that kind of stuff. And so I always tell people like, listen, there are some great food content creators, food blogs who cater to the mom or dad or parents who just need to get meal on the table, or who cater to the busy professional who needs something quick, or they need quick and easy snacks. I'm also not the person that's very like inclusive to dietary restrictions. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna eat the things, and I'm not necessarily the person that is going to try to find an alternative, because that doesn't bring me joy, right? So there's flour and butter and eggs and all the things. Anyway, let me get back to the point. So I saw these 2 cookie recipes, and I was like, those look unusually complex for some cookies, and I want to make those so bad. And I remember buying the ingredients, like the pantry ingredients, and letting them sit for months, right? I mean, I started cooking, here and there. It was very basic. And one day I was like, Evelyn, we're just gonna make these doggone cookies. Like we're just gonna make them. And I made them and I froze them. And, whenever I wanted a warm cookie, I would allow myself to have one. But that first phase of getting back on the process of eating out at home was just that I set a goal of eating at home 6 out of 7 days a week. That was the goal. Didn't matter what I made. Didn't matter what it was. The goal was to eat at home. Didn't matter what the snacks are. Didn't matter if it was carb heavy, cheese heavy. Didn't matter. And I moved into phase 2, which was really about incorporating things. So it was like, again, no restrictions, no rules. But now it was like, I want to add things in. So it was really about, and this is, again, these are my personal preferences, not like things I feel like I should do, but these are things that I wanted to do. And in that was, I really want to have a vegetable at every meal. Like that's just, I like that. I like the way I feel. I like the color on the plate. I wanted a vegetable at every meal, including breakfast. And I also wanted to eat more fruit, right? Because while I like fruit, I wasn't consuming as much as I would like. And so, I wanted to have more fruit. And again, I like the color, right? So, and I like the way I feel and all of that. And so these are things that I wanted to do. So I spent the next couple of months really focusing on incorporating, a vegetable at every meal, and also incorporating a variety of colors of fruit, and also being more consistent with the supplements that I take. So that's pretty much it. And I will say this, let me just put some context and some clarity around it. I'm also a person that I don't drink coffee. I do love herbal tea. I don't drink alcohol. And let me tell you, let me just do a little side about this alcohol piece. I have never been a big alcohol drinker. I don't care. Back college, you name it. I've never been a big alcohol drinker. And I probably had gotten to the point where I was having maybe 1 or 2 alcoholic beverages a year. And even then, I was always looking for alcoholic beverages that tasted nothing like alcohol. And I didn't like the feeling that I had when I drank alcohol because, quiet as it's kept, over here, your girl is a lightweight, okay? I'm a lightweight when it comes to the alcohol. I don't like how it makes me feel. I'm just not that person. Like, shout out to you if you're that person. I'm not that person. And so in 2023, I was like, girl, I think I had like a mango margarita or something. And I just was like, I don't like the way this makes me feel. It actually doesn't taste that great to me. And that's when I was like, girl, just give up the ghost. Like, you're just not a drinker. Why are you trying to make yourself be a drinker? But what I realized is when I do want something other than water, because water is usually my beverage of choice. Like, I have almond milk and things like that, for my smoothies or, with one of them elaborate cookies, you know what I'm saying? But, outside of water and like herbal tea, like I wasn't drinking hardly anything, maybe an occasional Italian soda here or there, right? But what I realized is the thing that I did enjoy about alcohol were the beverages that were like really culinary focused, right? That had interesting ingredients and, fruit juices and herbal mixtures and things like that. And so what I realized is that I think I'm into mocktails, right? Because when I would go to restaurants that had interesting mocktails, I would order like 2 or 3, okay? And so I think I'm going to put that in my docket for this year, is to really lean into chef curated mocktails, because I like a beautiful beverage, okay? And I like the experience of a beautiful beverage in beautiful stemware and, interesting flavors. I don't need it at every meal, but I do enjoy it. I just like it sans the alcohol. So anyway, back to my point. So started back eating out at home with no rules, then got into the incorporation. And so my next focus is really going to be about meal planning. So before I was just kind of like at the hip, right? Like, okay, I'm just going to buy a whole bunch of stuff and I'm going to make whatever comes to my mind. And now I really want to be more intentional about planning my meals, and not for the purpose of like being restrictive or grocery shopping, but I really like a variety of cuisines. And so meal planning is going to allow me to really dig into my archives. It's going to allow me to dig into my cookbooks and really get back to experimenting with, different cultures and different cuisines. And then I think along with that, I'm really going to do like a huge pantry stock up, particularly on ingredients that are not what I would consider everyday staples, right? And so I really want to stock up. I'm a person who loves a variety of vinegars. I don't know why I love vinegars, which is funny because younger, I didn't like hot sauce or vinegars or anything. Now give me all of the vinegars, okay? I love spices. I think, listen, don't judge me. The other day I went into my pantry and I counted my spices and I think I had 50. And when I was looking at them, I was like, this is not enough. Like before I knew there was 50, I was like, I don't feel like I have enough variety. Ma'am, you have 50. Okay. But I want more. Okay. There's some spices that I can think of right now that I'm like, I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that. So, and then I also want to create, an indoor herb garden, because if it's one thing I love to cook with, probably more so than vanilla, because I love vanilla. I'm talking about vanilla beans, vanilla extract, vanilla bean paste when it comes to baking, is I love a good fresh herb. Dried herbs have a place, but I love a good fresh herb. I almost can't think of a savory dish that I couldn't pop a good herb on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure there are some, but I love a good herb. So that's kind of where I'm going next. And then after like the pantry stock up and the meal planning, I really want to lean into bulking up my kitchen, cookware, appliances, gadgets, things like that. There are so many things on my wish list. And then we'll round that out with is I really want to start entertaining again. I miss that so much. And so that's kind of the journey that I'm going to be going on. If you want to tune in with me here on the podcast, but also if you want to see me live these things out, I'm going to be documenting them all on my YouTube channel as Chef Evelyn. I'll be sharing things on my Instagram and on my TikTok at It's Chef Evelyn. I know, I can't believe I have a TikTok. I know, it's crazy. Who am I, right? But yeah, I'm really, really excited. But that's what I plan on doing to get back on track. So I'm currently in the phase of the incorporation diet, right? Like incorporating things. I call it offensive eating versus defensive eating. And then I'm going to be sliding into meal planning, pantry, freezer prep, and on from there. So listen, let me know, are you going to be going on a similar journey? Are you inspired to try one of these things as we go along? And also let me know, take a snapshot of the podcast. If you're excited that it's back, tag me on Instagram. Let me know specifically what you would like for me to share, and or topics that you would like for me to cover. And if you are enjoying the podcast so far in these episodes, I'd love for you to rate it and share it, leave a review. If you don't mind, you can go back and listen to some of the old episodes. But this new season and this new version of the podcast will be a little bit different. So I'm excited, like I said, to be back, and I hope you've been enjoying the episodes, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you're enjoying this podcast, make sure to head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave it a review. And if you're curious about what I'm cooking in between episodes, make sure to stay connected with me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, where I'm sharing delicious behind the scenes, grocery hauls, recipe inspiration, food for thought, and so much more. I'll see you in the next episode.